Hi, everyone, and good afternoon. Welcome to NovaStore's Buffalo Americas and TrackOFF's joint partner-focused webinar titled Proactive Data Protection Strategies. My name is LeMarque, and I am with John Ferez. We are coming to you from Agoura Hills, California, located in between Los Angeles and Santa Barbara, just a few miles from Malibu. We're excited in having our partners, Matt Pennico and Gary Thomas from Buffalo America, and Sherrod Davis and Alex McGlynn from TrackOFF. Jumping in to the agenda. Building a fast and reliable backup strategy, disaster recovery or DR and the importance of it, physical to virtual or P2V restores, ransomware, proactive partner sales strategies. Buffalo will share how they are the most secure network attached storage device on the market, and TrackOFF will share how their software stops hackers in their tracks. For our Q&A, we'll have a very personalized panel-style session, and at any time during the webinar, you could post your question, and we'll do our best to answer all of them, and if need be, we'll reach out to you directly via email. So jumping into building a backup strategy. I think the best way to start, and what we feel here, are to ask some good questions before you start to build the strategy. Number one would be, what do you really need to back up? What does the customer really need to back up? What's the mission critical data? Who's the customer, and do they have any compliances like HIPAA, which means they need to protect patients' information? Do they have a compliancy of PCI, protecting payment processing, or any of the likes? Other than that, similar to SOX, protecting stakeholders and general accounting errors. How often must your data be backed up and restored? Here at NovaBACKUP, we recommend a 3-2-1 backup strategy. Yes, 3 redundant sets of your backups, 2 localized backup targets, and at 2 different locations that you or your customer owns and can quickly restore. Lastly, 1 offsite backup for that additional layer of protection. The backup types we suggest, and we recommend scheduling an image backup once a month, perhaps every first of the month, a full backup once a week, likely every Sunday as a marker in time, and then additionally scheduling incremental or differentials on the other 6 days or the business week, Monday through Friday. How much time will you have for the restore? This depends a lot on the amount of data that you have, but the real answer is we need to find the time to protect the mission critical data for our customers. What level of security and who's going to have access to touch the backups? We would only recommend IT professionals like yourselves, system administrators, or IT directors. We do have an in-depth guide that we'll share with you, plus we'll upload this webinar to our YouTube channel where you can go and get our suggested backup strategy guide. Disaster recovery. Disaster recovery, or DR protection, its true meaning is business continuity planning, which involves setting policies, tools, procedures, enabling recovery of the company's critical data. All businesses must function despite any significant or disruptive event caused by a natural or human error. Natural disasters include, but are not limited to, of course, flood, fire, power surge, or hardware failure. And then there's human errors, viruses, or not maintaining companies' policies, as well as not backing up or not doing any scheduled image backups. And these image backups are the backups that allow you to remount all the applications, the software, the operating system, the drive recognition, etc., allowing you to quickly restore either to the existing hardware or to a new piece of hardware, which is referred to as bare metal restore to dissimilar hardware. And quickly, most important, getting the business back up and running. It's essential for all businesses. And we recommend at minimum, check your backups monthly. I actually would suggest that you do it weekly, and finding the time for it is super important. We researched some reliable sources and found relevant stats, pretty scary stats in fact, that 60% of all backups are incomplete and 50% of those fail to restore. Additionally, 45% of downtime is caused by hardware failure. Running more than one protected backup solution contributes to the highest average data loss. One of the main reasons, backup software just does not play friendly together. 75% of IT managers were not able to restore all of their data after a loss or a critical incident like this. And one of the things that we're going to be talking about next is a new feature with NovaBACKUP, offering additional disaster recovery protection with physical to virtual, or P2V, and I will turn it over to John Ferez to share more.
Hello. So NovaBACKUP 19.1 and above now contain P2V features, and NovaStore is excited to introduce the built-in P2V support here. It's included with all of the NovaBACKUP products. So PC, server, and business essentials all contain that P2V functionality in the same regards. So now you can instantly recover your entire system in just a few minutes to a hypervisor environment such as Hyper-V. The advantages here are you can back up direct to VHD, which is a virtual hard disk. You can perform simple restores to both physical and virtual environments now, not just to a physical machine. You can do quick backup verification. The P2V feature allows for verifying your DR image backup quickly just by basically spinning it up into a virtual machine after you do take that image to VHD backup. So that allows for basically you to go through the entire system and see if your backup was a legitimate, successful backup. Point-in-time recovery to go back to problems before they took place. So if you say, for instance, have a SQL backup failure, SQL server failure, you can quickly restore to a point in time 1 day prior, 2 days prior with the P2V functionalities that we now have in NovaBACKUP. Build your own BDR backup and disaster recovery is another feature we'll be talking about. We do have a walkthrough video and articles related to all the P2V functionality that's now in NovaBACKUP products, and that's a link that's going to be near the bottom of this slide here, www.novabackup/P2V. There you can see at the bottom. Just some history regarding NovaBACKUP's disaster recovery functionality. We've had disaster recovery functionality, which is bare metal imaging, for quite some time now. It allows for creating an image backup of a physical computer. Traditionally, in a disaster recovery situation, such as a hardware failure, the image of that physical machine's hard drives will be restored back to a physical machine, whether to the original or replacement machine via a bootable USB flash drive that you create through NovaBACKUP. NovaBACKUP 19.1 and above introduces virtual disaster recovery. It's labeled as image backup to VHD in the software. This allows for recovering a physical or virtual server to a virtual machine now. The job that can perform that operation can be a scheduled job or a manually executed job. There is no boot media required to perform the image to VHD operation, although starting in version 19.2, you will be able to use the boot media to create that image to VHD, which is something that was not possible in 19.1. The VHD file can then be utilized in a hypervisor environment, such as Windows Hyper-V. That VHD file can be assigned as the hard drive in a brand new virtual machine created inside a Hyper-V manager, for instance. That VM can then be spun up easily and quickly to either temporarily or permanently replace the physical machine that this imaged VHD file was created from. It can be used as a point-in-time restore to get that server back up and running without having to figure out how to deal with a hardware failure, for example, such as a hard drive failure or motherboard failure. Even if the system is just too slow and you're outgrowing it, that's something that you can be utilized. This method can also be used if you're looking to retire a physical machine or give it better resources, as the VM can exist on a much more powerful host machine with much faster disk and memory than it possibly could ever have seen in the original hardware, if the original hardware were to simply be upgraded. It can also ease the management issues with having too many physical machines running old failing hardware for a small IT staff to deal with easily. This method can be utilized to verify your backup image as discussed earlier. So you can basically take your image, whether it's a scheduled or manual image to VHD, and then spin it up into a virtual machine in a hypervisor that you choose, such as Hyper-V. And that's all.
Okay, so handing it back over to myself, I'm going to jump right into some of the scary stuff that's out there. Of course, we all know what it is. It's ransomware, and the first known ransomware was in 1989, named PC Cyborg. It claimed a certain piece of software had encrypted file names on the hard drive and then required users to pay $189 to unlock the system. What I found interesting to note was that the ransom price really has not changed over time. Ransomware is a type of malware that prevents you from accessing your system and typically encrypts your files. It forces you to pay the ransom in order to decrypt and or regain your data. If the ransom's not paid, within a specific period of time, that private key usually is deactivated. The decryption key is then destroyed. Like real viruses, this kind of malicious code can spread very easily through those connected devices. And having that outdated software that John had even mentioned increases security vulnerabilities. Remember, they are looking for weaknesses into those operating systems and into those browsers. A couple of scary things, we see this all the time. Even if you pay the ransom, it's no guarantee that you're going to get your data. And those real criminals will find multiple ways to victimize the same people once they are infected. How grave can it be? Just this year, the city of Atlanta, 6 days after an attack, they got back to being able to only work manually by filling forms out. Of course, their backup plan wasn't disclosed, but on these larger systems, they tend to be much more vulnerable with more users and more vectors and possibly unpatched vulnerabilities, and they're likely running some type of legacy product on it as well. What causes ransomware infection? We've all seen these. Accidental or unknown downloads. Somebody's tricked into downloading something. Spam emails with rogue attachments. Misleading advertisement. A good instance is the two instances I've used are banner ads and pop-ups. Infected removable drives or other sources of, compromised web pages and executable downloads. Be careful with those .exe files. Careful on the removable drives or any other media. And we spoke about it. John shared, the program vulnerabilities, and where these people are coming and attacking are from outdated browsers, operating systems, etc. So when I was a kid, my family always had a fire escape plan. We lived in a two-story house. And I would recommend doing the same for you and your clients and your users. How do you prevent it? What do you do if you detect it? Good answers are education. Schedule meetings. What do the threats look like? How do you disconnect quickly from a machine? And then who do you need to contact? So the general prevention is pretty simple. Education. Institute prevention policies. Restrict access to. You know, a lot of the employees, you know, we don't like it, but we have access restricted, and it's only to protect NovaStore and the business. But it's what the policy is, and it's a very important policy to restrict that access and make sure that users don't have all the privileges as a sysadmin would. Keep your antivirus and anti-malware up to date. Filter spam and those .exe and .zip attachments. I would make sure that you show hidden file extensions, because we know a PDF may really be a .exe. And then, of course, make sure that you use a firewall. One of the things that I like at NovaBACKUP here, because we know that most of our audience is here as a partner, is finding ways to help you grow your business, finding ways to help you make money, and finding ways to help satisfy your customers' needs while being there for you. We offer lead generation because we work very closely with our end user department. We sell our PC product as a subscription only on the website to end users, and that's through NovaBACKUP.com. But for our partners for our partners and in our partner portal, we offer both types of licensing, both subscription and perpetual. And for our certified partners, when we have an end user or small business that does not want subscription models, we'll reach out and and we've had some great success. Sorry, I was getting an internal message that I should have disarmed, but regardless, we'll reach out to our certified partners, and we've had great success stories in getting people in the door. They've gone in to just to sell maybe 1 or 3 or 5 PC to a customer, and they end up taking care of all the business's IT needs, from A to Z. Another thing that we do in generating proactive revenue for our partners, aside from lead generation with our end users and getting your foot in the door with those people that want perpetual licensing, are through our renewals. You know, the NovaCare is phone and remote session support along with every minor and major release, and we take a lot of pride in making sure that we'll pull your customers' keys for you and contact you directly with your designated sales and support manager. And we'll make that renewal process simple, easy, and profitable. Upgrades are another opportunity for proactive revenue. We've discussed the value of staying current and warding off the ever-looming threat of cyber attack. At NovaBACKUP here, we offer high margins, no quotas, designated sales and support managers, not for resale NFR keys, and of course the electronic executable downloads of our software, along with sales, technical, marketing tools. And we have an easy to use license management section allowing you visibility on customers and licensing status, indicating whether the customer is current, due for renewal, or eligible for an upgrade. You can reach me directly, and we're happy to offer you guided trials, getting you quickly familiar and fluent with our NovaBACKUP applications and licensing. Okay, so it's time to continue to protect our data. Now, to protect your backups even further, let's go to Matt and Gary at Buffalo Americas. Hello, Matt. Hello, Gary. Well, I do not have Matt and I do not have Gary on the line. I do know about Buffalo devices. They have closed systems that are, similar to, are you there, guys?
All right, can you hear me now?
Yeah, now we hear you. Okay, so we have Gary from Buffalo, America, who knows his product much better than we do here at NovaStore.
Sorry about that. I unmuted the mic on the phone, but it didn't seem to take, I guess.
Well, that's all right. We're all technology experts, right?
Exactly.
All right. Moving along.
So just some quick points here. My name is Gary Thomas. I'm here with Matt Pinico, our marketing lead. I'm a sales engineer here at Buffalo. I just want to hit some real quick points. First of all, one of our key points that we have about our system is that the OS is closed. There's no installable apps. There's nothing that can be added to it, whether from whatever vector it comes from. And we think that's a primary reason that our systems are very secure. We have seen in the past where, and I'm not going to mention anybody, but we've had our competitors, many of whom who have very complex operating systems with big app stores that can be added to the NAS. And we've seen in the past that has been a vector for malware for some of our competitors. We, on the other hand, have what you see is what you get. The features are there. It's not overly complex. It's a small footprint OS, and it's very secure. Even during the setup, for a lot of NAS out there in the market, when you go through the setup, you have to be connected to the internet, so you've got to go out and talk to their servers, and you've got to go through their setups. Our setup is completely local to the device. You go through the setup, it doesn't even have to be, you don't even have to be connected to the internet at all. You have to have a network connection because you have to be able to talk to the NAS over the network, but it doesn't have to be connected to the internet at all. As far as anti-theft devices, we've got a couple of those. I mean, the biggest one is just simple. All of our desktop units have a Kensington slot, so you can use a Kensington style lock to secure it to whatever you have in place. Obviously, with the rack mount units, we expect those will be in a rack and a server room, and we hope that your server room is secure. Lastly, on our desktop units, because these are often sitting where anybody can see them, the doors do have a lock on them. Now, that's not a super secure lock. A big screwdriver, you could probably still get in there, but it does help to deter the curious anyway from opening up and pulling hard drives out while the thing's running. All right. All right, Eric, we can go on to the next slide.
Yep.
There we go. All right. Data encryption. So our TerraStation 3010 and 5010 units do utilize 256-bit AES encryption. It's most secure encryption recommended by the U.S. government. It's necessary for anybody that's going to be doing any kind of government contract, anything like that. You have to have a 256-bit AES. We can encrypt the data at rest. We also have boot authentication, so that once you encrypt the unit, when it powers on, it'll go out and look for an authentication server. Now, the authentication server is a very simple Windows utility you can have installed on any Windows system on your network that's expected to be on all the time. What happens is the TerraStation will share part of its decryption key with that server. So when it boots up, it goes out, talks to the server, gets the portion of the key that it needs, goes in, decrypts the drives, and starts to boot. The reason for this is that if somebody was to break into your office and pick up the TerraStation and walk away with it, when they plug it in and connect it to their network, the unit won't boot. So not only can they not pull the drives out and get the data off of them because they're encrypted, they can't boot and hack into it, try to break into it using a passwords, user accounts, because the system won't even boot. And lastly, if you're doing any kind of backup or replication of the TerraStation where you're moving data maybe from one TerraStation to another over the internet, we can encrypt that data on the wire as well, so that you're protected end to end in that case. Now, speaking of, like I said, the user passwords, We have security, obviously. Excuse me, you can have local users and groups on the device. The unit can authenticate against an Active Directory domain as well, so that your existing users can connect to it. Obviously, we recommend if you're using this as a backup target that you don't give access to every user. That you give access to those backup targets only to an account that's set up just to do backups, basically, so that everybody isn't connected to the thing. That way, if Joe in accounting has map drives going to the terror station and he opens up a malware that encrypts his system, well, oftentimes those ransomware software will also go out and look for map drives and encrypt those as well. So if you do that, then you've got a problem. But if you have your backup separated by having an account set up only for doing backups, that's great. Obviously, we recommend passwords on all accounts. We do have antivirus functionality built in. That is provided by Trend Micro. It is the one thing that we have that's a separate license. It requires a small additional purchase. That's provided by Trend Micro. It will scan all the files in the system on a schedule that you set up to make sure that any of your backups, any files that are put on the system are virus-free. Lastly, our backup, replication, failover, and encryption. That's all part of one big process. So the terror station can back up from one terror station to another. It can replicate from one terror station to another, either locally or at another site. It'll help with, as Eric was talking about earlier, having one of your backups off-site. You can back up locally to a terror station and then have the terror station replicate to another terror station at another site. And again, have the data encrypted at rest and encrypted on the wire while you're doing that replication. And failover, you can set up, your data is, you want it secure, but you also want it to be available. So you can also, if you want to, set up failover with our terror stations, have two identical terror stations, have them set up in a failover configuration so that if one of them completely fails, which is admittedly very rare, but it does happen. If in that event, it will fail over to the other one and continue to work so that your backups are still running, even though you may have had a hardware failure on your backup target. All right, and that's all we've got to say. I'm going to hand it back to Eric now.
Sure. Yeah, thank you for that. And, there's so many, redundant things that I keep hearing. Limit the users, have multiple sets, just lock stuff down and have those policies set right. So, hey, let's jump right to Sherrod and Alex from TrackOFF, and here they are.
Thanks, Eric. This is Alex McGlynn from TrackOFF. And the first thing I wanted to highlight and really impress upon everyone is that online tracking has become an increasingly pervasive problem that has some pretty serious implications for online privacy and identity protection. So 75% of all websites have some kind of tracking script running in the background to collect things like browsing habits, medical information, financial information, search history, political preferences, and even information entered into unsecure forms, like social security numbers, passwords, etc. In fact, 4.9 million data records are lost or stolen every single day. And this is the average internet user vulnerable to multiple forms of attacks, including password theft, identity theft, and targeted phishing attacks, or even blackmail in certain cases. Now, there's a silver lining to all of this. From what we're seeing here at TrackOFF, internet users know there's a problem. Most of them, over 90% in fact, are interested in adding additional protection. The problem we're seeing, though, is that they don't know where to turn or what to use. We found that most people are looking for an easy-to-use and understand product that increases their security without impacting their ability to browse the web or use the internet, and they're just having trouble finding something like that. So a lot of people are relying on things like VPN, clearing their cookies, incognito mode, etc. And the scary thing is that as data brokers and trackers switch to more cutting-edge tracking techniques, such as digital fingerprinting, consumers and companies are rendered more or less helpless. Clearing your cookies isn't going to help. Using a VPN won't stop it. and incognito mode still leaves you vulnerable to these more advanced attacks. And while all of these are good utilities to have in your tool belt, none of them offer enough protection on their own. And just as a quick educational piece, digital fingerprinting refers to the ability to use the unique characteristics about a PC or a phone to uniquely identify it online. So about 99 out of every 100 devices using the internet is unique enough to be identified and then tracked from site to site. And again, there's not really a lot of ways for users to protect themselves against that form of tracking. And in fact, that's actually why we created or developed TrackOFF to begin with. We wanted to create a one-stop shop dedicated to protecting users' identities and online privacy. So we believe that educating internet users about the dangers lurking on the web and then giving them the tools to fight back is the best way to make an impact and capitalize on growing consumer concerns around online privacy. So TrackOFF offers a myriad of features and tools designed to protect individual users from all three major forms of online tracking that are used to mitigate online privacy through tracking, recording, and selling everything and anything a consumer does online. So basically, we want to stop data brokers and hackers in their tracks. Our proprietary digital fingerprint protection and real-time tracking detection keeps users safe from those advanced forms of online tracking. So the digital fingerprint I was referring to before, our software actually changes it for every website that you visit so that the device can't be tracked from site to site. Our automated browser data clearing ensures that cookies and more old school forms of tracking are being cleared from every installed browser and consistently wiped away on a daily basis. And our private search lets users around the web search the web without fear of search history tracking, IP logging, and things like that. And then lastly, encrypted browsing or VPN adds an extra layer of security against IP-based tracking, geolocation profiling, and unsecure web connections like public Wi-Fi networks or hotel networks. And if you'll see there in the middle, there's a privacy score that helps educate users as to how well they're actually protected from our online, from the host of online tracking threats that are attempting to follow them from site to site and steal their information. And all of this has been designed in a way to allow users of all skill levels to pretty easily navigate through the product and ensure that they're protected from all online tracking threats. So someone who, has been using computers every day can easily navigate through it. Someone who barely ever turns theirs on can also go in and easily set this up and ensure that they're protected. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Eric to tell you more about the product giveaway.
Okay, great. Thanks, guys. And yeah, we've got a strong attendance today. We want to thank everybody for taking the time. Before we get into the question and answer, wanted to share with you that the one winner chosen of a copy of NovaBACKUP Business Essentials, a Buffalo Mini Station Extreme Portable Hard Drive, and also a copy of TrackOFF Elite Anti-Tracking Technology will be announced today on our Facebook and Twitter page. And from there, once confirmed, we'll email the winner. And before we jump into the Q&A, if you have any questions regarding becoming a NovaBACKUP Value Create partner, I've listed the information to contact me here and also the link to sign up as a partner. Likewise with Buffalo Americas, you've got the phone number, you've got the email address, and in addition, TrackOFF with Alex's information. And, we can make sure that we'll see if we can't put it up on our social media to make it easy for all the partners who are in attendance, that they can go to Facebook and Twitter today and learn who the winner is. And let's jump into our questions. Here's where I want to get really personalized. But any of us, we're available to talk. What I know about these three companies is that we do business the real way, and we pick up the phone. So don't be hesitant to pick up the phone and give us a call. We're happy to spend the time to educate you on the products and benefits of partnering with us. So on the questions, I do have questions that have been coming in. You can keep your questions coming in. That would be tremendous. So the first question I see is, I have a bunch of NovaBACKUP. They didn't specify, but it looks like I have NovaBACKUP server licenses. Can I upgrade them to Business Essentials to get the P2V feature, or do I have to buy a new license? You don't have to buy a new license of NovaBACKUP. We do have upgrade paths for you, and it's kind of the future of backup, having the ability to spill over, and we're excited about that P2V feature that we do have in our software. Let me go to the next question. Oh, I see a question here regarding the network attached NAS device for Buffalo, saying, can you expand on the closed system that you offer? Gary?
So yeah, I'd be happy to. So as I stated earlier, our OS is very lightweight. A lot of people, when they look at straight specs, they look at well, how much RAM does it have in it? And compared to some of our competitors, we tend to have a little less RAM from the factory than they do. But one of the big reasons is that our OS is very lightweight. It's a very small footprint. It doesn't require a lot of horsepower just to run the operating system. And there's no vectors, there's no ports open unless you open them specifically. Like you can set up FTP and it'll open that port. You can set up secure FTP, it'll open that port. Obviously, the primary file sharing protocol is SMB, so that's available. But you can choose what level of SMB you want to use. So I can turn off everything except the highest version that our TerraStations currently support is SMB 3.1.1. So you can turn off everything else but that. So force everything to use this highest level of SMB, the latest version of SMB, so that you have better security. There's not a lot of open ports. There's no way to, download something from the internet and add it to the TerraStation because you don't know where it came from. So it's just it's very tightly controlled. The inner works of the device are very tightly controlled. There's no open vectors for something to get in there and change the way things are working and have the potential to hijack, encrypt, or otherwise infect your data.
That's tremendous, Gary. Thank you for that. I'm looking through some of the additional. What types of media does NovaBACKUP back up to? John, I'll let you expand on that. And of course, we do back up directly to Buffalo drives.
Yeah, sure. So in regards to doing file level backups, we can back up to a USB external hard drive, a Buffalo NAS device, or any other NAS device that you have. We can also do file backups to, a local area network SMB share. So another computer on your network, if they have a share folder on there, you can back up to it. You can also back up to the cloud. We have Amazon S3, and First Backup is another partner of ours that allows for cloud backup. And when it comes to image level backup, you can back up to, as we mentioned before, a share on your network, a NAS device, such as the Buffalo NAS. We support pretty much any NAS that you have. I haven't seen one that didn't work with our software. And in regards to that, the only resource that you won't be able to do an image backup to currently is a cloud device. So a cloud backup device is not supported. You also can't do it to like a CD or a DVD. And other than that, if you have any particular questions on a device that you have, we can answer that.
Yeah, anytime we can answer that. And, we have some requests. I thank you for all the comments that we're getting in because, you guys are on the other side of this. So you're giving us great suggestions on what to do in the future. We do have this will be available, and the links are available in the backup strategy guide. as well as the P2V feature that we have on it. There's a video that you can go and check out. I've got a question here for TrackOFF. TrackOFF, can you explain your licensing? That's somebody is asking about how does your licensing work? Alex?
Sure. Thanks, Eric. It's Sherrod here.
Oh, hi, Sherrod.
Hey, our licensing for our consumers typically works like traditional antivirus. So you buy the product and you get an activation key, which normally will activate up to 3 devices. So we have a mobile application on Android. We work on Windows and are rolling out a Mac product shortly. So it'll be some cross-device compatibility as well.
And then on the enterprise side, if you're trying to roll it out to a host of 50 or 100 computers, basically we would just give you one key that can activate on every computer. So that way it keeps it a little simpler and a little bit more in control on the admin side.
Great. Thanks, guys. And yeah, good point, because we all have enterprise products, and there are some large customers that we have either with the SLED, state and local government, and higher education. So likewise, here at NovaStore, we have different products, and I can assist you with that, or any of us can assist you with our enterprise level products that we have outside of small to medium businesses. I did have another question here. It said, do you support VMware? We do with Business Essentials. I think, though, Business Essentials supports the virtual expanse of Hyper-V and VMware. Just a quick review of our licensing is real simple. We license the physical host machine, and it's in the instance if you had a designated virtual machine and you wanted to have file level backup, or you wanted to have granular restore capability on the Exchange, being able to do a single file mailbox restore, or on the relational table of SQL, any designated SQL or Exchange virtual machine needing that granularity, we would treat that as a physical. But with Business Essentials, you could put a license on one machine. It can have SQL and Exchange, and let's say it has a virtual expanse of 4 additional virtual machines that are doing their functions, maybe a web server or a domain controller, and then you've got a print file share of another file server, whatever it may be, and one license on the host will cover SQL, Exchange, and all 4 other of those 5 totaled servers with one license. I'll let John mention, because on the P2V, we support Hyper-V, but we do have a way to do cover VMware on that. Go ahead, John.
So we've always had virtual machine backup, and virtual machine backup in Business Essentials software can definitely support VMware directly, as well as Hyper-V. When it comes to the P2V feature, which is a new feature that was introduced in NovaBACKUP 19.1, that feature right now as it stands can go directly to Hyper-V, so a virtual hard disk file, Microsoft virtual hard disk. That virtual hard disk file could be used on other hypervisor solutions other than Microsoft, but to go to VMware directly, we don't have that functionality yet. There is a free product that you can get directly from VMware. You do have to register an account on VMware's site to get that tool. It's the VMware Converter tool, and you can do a Google search on that to locate that. It's a completely free product, and it does allow taking physical machine and taking it into a virtual.
Okay, great. And I've got a comment here from Matt that came in over at Buffalo, and he says that their devices are VM ready as well. So let me move on to a couple other questions. And I see here, what version of NovaStore has the new P2V functionality? All of our versions. That's included on NovaBACKUP PC, NovaBACKUP Server for flat file servers like vanilla type server, and also NovaBACKUP Business Essentials. It has to be, though, on our version 19.1, and that's when we came out with it. Another proactive revenue generator for the attendees is also, that releases, and we are getting ready to release 19.2, And on those releases, there are, you know, some opportunities for you to go out into your customers and get them up and going. Let's see. Here's a good question.
That's a good question.
I like it. It says, is the creation of a bootable USB less ugly than before? It was pretty rough going.
And I'll take that one, this is John. There's been a tremendous amount of work on the image boot media capability functionality in NovaBACKUP. And that's starting with 19.2. And 19.2 is our next release. It's very close to being released, actually. So 19.2 will have a completely redesigned, re-engineered, recoded image boot disk. And it contains a lot of new functionality. You'll be able to read about all that functionality on the release notes for version 19.2. But just to, you know, as far as the look and how you actually create the boot disk is a lot simpler. In that it auto detects, for instance, the Windows ADK if that's needed. You don't have to go out and install it or point to a particular folder like you had to before. It detects if, for instance, the Windows ADK is in place. It also will detect on a workstation operating system if the necessary files for the Windows PE boot environment that create the boot disk are already in place. And it's pretty good about detecting that and not making you go out and say, go to Microsoft and download the ADK. There are cases where you still are going to have to do that, but at least it already picks up to detect that if you have the ADK installed, it will bypass the screen that used to, you know, force you to download and go in and point to the path where it was installed. And some of the new functionality in regards to P2V, you can with the boot disk go directly from physical to virtual. So you can do an image backup to the HD with that boot media, whereas you couldn't do that before. And so there's a lot of new functionality on that boot disk. For instance, you can now take an image of your computer, whether workstation or server, and do an image backup directly from the boot media, whereas you could not do that before. You could only use the boot media to restore an image. So look forward to that version 19.2 coming out, because you'll definitely want to rebuild your boot media at that point and experience. I would also advise testing out the boot media, you know, after you create it. We do have a video on our support knowledge base on how to create the version 19.2 boot disk, and it does show a simulation of booting to it through a video that we have posted in our knowledge base. You can do a search for boot media there or 19.2, and you'll get that result.
Great, thanks, John. I really love, you know, talking to you partners. You know, over the years built up, you know, tremendous rapport, and I love, you know, some of the comments that I know from some of the people that I've had, you know, conversations with and who are repeat customers and advocates of NovaBACKUP. And we do have a backup for Matt and Gary. That's a pretty funny comment. Here we go. Where does TrackOFF run on each computer, server, and firewall?
Sorry, could you repeat that, Eric? I cut out.
Sure, Alex. It says, where does TrackOFF run? And then it continues on each computer, server level, and firewall.
Oh, gotcha. It runs on the computer level. That's the safest way to stop tracking. Basically making sure that each individual PC or tablet or phone or whatever is protected.
Okay, great. And what is NovaBACKUP pricing on the service? It depends if it's PC, server, or business essentials. For PC, you know, it also depends on, you know, if you're a partner with us as well. So, you know, on that question, I'll reach out directly and send an email, and we can have a conversation. Again, I'm, you know, one of those people, I enjoy talking on the phone and getting right down to the point, and you know, getting your questions or concerns handled. Yes.
Hey, Eric, this is Gary Thomas.
Yes.
I want to interject here real quick. You know, if you purchase a TerraStation, you get a NovaBACKUP server license and 10 NovaBACKUP PC licenses. Yep,
and I was going to mention that along with, you know, the promo code. We do have coupons if anybody is interested in purchasing a product, with us today and you've attended the webinar. You can contact me directly, Eric at novastore.com. It's ERIC at novastore.com. And I will get you that special webinar additional margin out of the partner portal or directly off the site. Some partners do like just to have their end users purchase directly, or they purchase directly off of the site. We don't recommend it because we've designed the portal, and when you do use it right, you've got everything in there. But like Gary said, we have a wonderful partnership with Buffalo. Those Terra stations, you're looking at getting a NovaBACKUP server license, which runs perpetual $400, and in addition, you're getting 2 5-packs. Really, you're getting 10 PC licenses. So the value of it, jumps up into the $700-800 range, coming with NovaBACKUP software. And once you do purchase the Buffalo Drive, you'll be instructed as to where you can go and get your NovaBACKUP licensing and register your product. Let's see if we have any other questions. Does NovaBACKUP support the site-to-site backup process?
So site-to-site meaning usually that entails having a business in one city and your other offices in another, or even another state. So we do have a product for that. NovaBACKUP probably isn't going to support backing up over a VPN. So we do have remote workforce or XSP product that can handle that type of backup.
Yeah, and that's our on our solution side and an enterprise level product. But if somebody has a question about that, I can answer it. But I will be sure to pass your information along to our solutions team. We have everything in house here. Nothing is outsourced. We make the product here as well as support the product here and have anything. Let's see. Gary and Matt, I've got a question for you. Do you have any battle cards? A partner's asking in comparison to this Synology and some of your competitors.
Repeat the question one more time.
Sure. Do you have any battle cards, showing that you maybe back up data quicker, more secure than some of your competition? Specifically, they say, do you have any battle cards in comparison to Synology products?
So we don't have any side-by-side against Synology, but we do have tested speeds and feeds as well as use cases, and we can put those together. Just go ahead and email us with your request and what you're looking for, and we can send you what we have. Sales@buffaloamericas.com.
So that's sales@buffaloamericas.com. And, once again, the webinar will be up, and we'll try to post, the information also onto social media later today, along with the winner. Let me see if I have any other questions. So, why is it so important that customers have NovaCare? For me, where I sit, I've been here for a long time, and I see a lot of, I know this. If I was over on your side of the fence and I'm supporting all these customers, I can't be everywhere at the same time, and we never know when disaster is going to strike. So I like having my customers fully supported because, the WannaCry virus came in through a backdoor on Microsoft's OS, and then once they patched it and fixed it, they give it to our partners like us, and then we patch and add that into our software. So that gives them also not only the ability to call us and get the help and be treated like if it were you servicing them, getting the support they need, but having the most up-to-date software as well. Somebody had asked me about becoming a certified partner. We have 2 levels of partnership. There's a paid level where you get 28% margins, and then the normal level where you get 15% margins. And they had asked me if we had any promotions on that. I'm happy to have any conversation with you. You know, we've had people that said, you know, we like the service and support that you're giving us. We've never had that before. Your product just works. You guys help us with it. And, you know, they say, well, I'm going to be spending X number of dollars, and I'm happy to work out a deal with you and set something up. You know, we've been around for about a decade, and with that, we still have the ability to be a company that can handle things as they come in and make special requests and custom tailor the programs to specific partners. Well, that's all the questions that we have. For now, let me click to the last slide, and I want to thank our partners, Matt and Gary at Buffalo Americas, and also Sherrod and Alex over at TrackOFF. And we thank you not only for your time, we thank you for your business, and we thank you for your partnership. Have a great rest of the day, everyone. This does conclude our webinar. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.